Ми проводили в жовтні
In
громадську організацію
October,
«Інсайт» першу
we
національну лесбійську
organized
конференцію.
the first
Це було
National
вау.
Lesbian conference.
Дякую.
Yes, thank you.
І це не просто, щоб похвастатись, знаєте, ми такі
That
прийшли,
was not just to boast that, okay,
Ні, насправді це
we
дуже
organized this national conference. No, in fact,
важливо.
that's very
І та
important.
подія, про яку я мріяла, ну, там, пів свого життя.
The event that I've been dreaming about most of my life. I'm not 20, not 25, not 30.
Ладно, і не 40.
I'm much older. Okay.
Да, і тому вчора дуже багато говорили про історію ЛГБТКІ руху.
And that is why yesterday they were talking a lot about the history of LGBTIQ plus movement in Ukraine. I'm pleased to see new activists here and old activists here. Those who stay with us, I know that many went to different spheres to work, but that's all our capital. People who are everywhere. Have you heard, I heard this word for the first time. Lesbian? Hannah? That was unexpected. I heard a lot, I didn't hear that one.
Цікаво досвіти вам порефлексувати, ну, кажуть, спільнота, да, там, не знаю, група, ще ж, а плем'я – це прям ізискано, да. А в мене ще вчора ввечері
That's very unique. And yesterday in the evening I had a webinar on public presentations, and there was a lot of terminology that I hate. And they used the word our beneficiaries. And I asked, they were talking about the males in male gender, and she said women. And I said, explain it again. And she said, it's just terminology in Ukrainian, mixing up the gender. When someone comes to you and wants to ask you for the commentary, for example, it's for mass media, and one woman comes to you and wants to take an interview which will go to the TV. I say, just remember, you have 10 seconds and you need to say something. And she used this term, beneficiaries. In Ukrainian, they sound very complicated. This terminology could be important in some documents and some classical descriptions to describe people who work with grants, with projects. But when you talk to people, please speak in a normal human language, because otherwise people will not feel that you speak them as peer, because otherwise there will be no strengthening of the community. And why do we need a lesbian space in general? Person as well. And LGBTIK plus tribe is such diverse.
Про якусь одну тему, кожна людина відчує, що це і про неї. Тому що коли ми узагальнюємо, ми можемо так сильно узагальнити, вийде про всіх і ні про кого конкретно.
We generalize, we can do it so about sort of, but no one specifically. Will every representative of a specific community which is part of this LGBTIQ plus understand that it refers to him or her, but
велика, я би сказав, рушійна сила взагалі і руху, і активізму, яка дуже довго, направду, була в тіні. Ну, це правда, це факт. Це історичний факт. І в тіні, коли ми кажемо в тіні, це не означає, що нас не було. Ті, хто довго вже в активізмі і в русі, я думаю, зі мною погодяться, це означає,
що окрім там якихось дуже на той момент, давайте, 2000-ні, да, яскравих фігур, як вчора вже звучало про Лайму Гейдар, я думаю, що може
Personalities like Laima Gidar, like it was in 2000, at the beginning of 2000. I remember Laima Gidar. That's a very important personality in lesbian and feministic movement. You can have different attitude to her, but to say that this personality didn't play a significant historic role, you shouldn't say that. She made a very big contribution, and thanks to this person, I became the activist. I would like to thank her for that and for this very hurting but great experience. And I'm here now. So talking about women, lesbian women who were in this and have been in this movement, they have been in the organization, they have been doing everything, but they haven't been on stage. They were not on stage. They were not visible. They were not making coming outs. And we believe that 2025 is the time when we can invite lesbians, bisexual and queer women so that they stay together, they discuss their problems together, and in such discussions we gave birth to such ideas and synergy that we couldn't imagine it. But stress was huge. Yesterday I told you 211 persons who got registered at the National Lesbian Conference. We thought that will be 130, but there were 200, even more. It's difficult to say how many were there. It's impossible to say that because the conference lasted for 3.5 days. And what was happening? The girls were from communication department. They were posting some stories. Some were coming and some got registered. Some didn't get registered. We didn't expect so many. We do have an experience of organizing the conference. And there were 2 trans conferences, but there were fewer people there. But for that, when we were preparing it, we believed that there will be a certain number. But basically, there were many more. And these registration lists, this is something, because they were adding people. People were adding themselves, lesbians, bisexual women, trans women. They saw that there will be this event in the social media, but we were not trying to make it a closed type event. And the last day, I believe we had, I don't know how many people. And then many of you go to different conferences, how ours was different, and it will be different in the future. Of course, security is very important. We're checking the participants, but most important thing for us, I hope that it will be like that always. The most important thing was to give people the opportunity to get to this conference, because my experience, plus minus negative, when the registration is closed 3-4 months before the event, and you cannot go there, even if this conference is taking place in your country, in your city, you cannot just go and attend at least several sessions, because that's prohibited. And for me, it was a trigger. I would like the members of the community, the people who are part of the community, to always have this possibility to get there. And people would, someone told them during the conference,
люди мають мати цей шанс прийти до своїх і побути зі своїми. І я сподіваюся, що так і залишиться.
І коли конференція закінчилася, ми писали там пост-релізи, там і пости, і так далі. І я дописував дівчатам постійно слово перша. Але я зрозуміла, що чому я це слово пропіхувала. Ось, бо можливо, може скластися враження, що тому що хотілося відзначити, що ми перші, але ні, я просто точно знала, що буде друга, і мені хотілося зробити наголос, що це перша, тому що розуміння, що має бути друга, третя, не знаю, там, і не тільки ми, і хто завгодно, щоб робилися ці лесбійські простори, воно було от від самого першого дня. Тому що, знову ж таки, чого очікувати було складно зрозуміти, але вже на перших дискусіях, а у нас всі ці наші панельні заходи, вони були в форматі дискусії. Ось. Було зрозуміло, що не знаю, люди заряджені, жінки заряджені, лесбійки заряджені. Стільки питань, це просто шок-контент. Ми ставили спеціально по таймінгу, щоб було останні 20 хвилин, це точно було якісь питання з зали. Але часу не вистачало. І це було так круто, бо зазвичай, знаєте, як на конфах, всі приходять, а що запитати, не зрозуміло в кінці. Ну і там організатори, там іноді, і ми також, до речі. Думаємо, треба підготувати якісь питання, бо якщо буде тиша, це ж якось не солідно. Давайте якісь там, не знаю, заготовки зробимо.
Підсадну утку посадимо, оця людина.
Взагалі не знадобилося, дійсно. І питання такі різноманітні, що от навіть ще до форми фідбеку стало зрозуміло, що відчуваю себе в safe space. Ну, тобто от питання були і провокаційні, і такі, знаєте, на межі, де от думки можуть розходитися радикально, тому що у нас були і панель з жінками військовими. От, до речі, я побачила, що тут є Оля Ніпка, яка її модерувала. Да. І була...
А лесбійська йога?
Лесбійська йога, тілесність. Говорили про праворадикальні рухи, да? Бо у нас зараз така реальність, що нападають, не дивляться. Жінка, не жінка, лесбійка, може вже і не жінка, щось таке в них в головах. Були панелі і про лесбійок, які поїхали за кордон. Чи повернуться вони, а в яку Україну вони захочуть повернутися. Що ми для цього робимо, і це і про адвокацію в тому числі, і так далі. Тобто і питання були такі гострі, але було не страшно.
А яка панель була про лесбійські сім'ї та дітей, яку провела, до речі, можливо, хтось знає, точно хтось знає, Ніна Вербицька. Вона також активістка з України, яка зараз живе в Німеччині.
Бо, теми так ставилися, що я думала, буде, знаєте, такий, не махач, але такі напружені моменти. А вони, знаєте як, вони дійсно були, але все було настільки, не знаю, оце треба було, щоб вони були, але не було протистоянь якихось. Всі дійсно спокійно питали, спокійно відповідали, тягнулися руки, люди просто щось додавали, просто рефлексії і так далі.
Уявіть собі цей махач, коли у нас була дискусія на тему лесбійки та бісексуалки. І інші
and not the letters of our abbreviation, but the discussion was great when people feel that it's a safe space where they can criticize properly, not just be silent and be afraid that it's not politically correct. I believe this will improve our movement. People can hear each other, they can maybe not here in some cases, but we represent different organizations, and very often you probably had an experience of seeing when someone doesn't like someone else. But
про людей, давайте, серйозно. Що значить, не знаю, там, інсайт,
the insight about our partnership organization Sphere. What does it mean? We are friends with Sphere. No, there is myself. I know Nastya Popova. I know what type of a person she is. If she says this way, this way, this way, that's what we need. Then I don't have a question. It's about trust. I understand that that's what they are doing.
про реальні дії.
It's
Це не
not
про те, що
that
нам
I
треба
have
там
to
переживати,
think
а чи
about
не під
whether
знаком
Sphere
Спhere,
will
якщо
not
ми
do
разом
it
щось
if we
робимо.
do it
Ні,
together.
є у Ена Шевченка.
Ні, ну може і підставити,
Well,
але ну,
but
таке
sometimes, of
трапляється.
course, we do have some problems, or
Або є
there
Олена
is
Шевченка, є Аня Шаригіна. Тобто
Shevchenko,
одна одну знають
Sharigina.
і
They know each other,
і ці
and
питання
all
вирішуються на рівні людина.
problems are resolved at the level of person to
Організації А,
person.
Б, не знаю, кажуть, ну, вони щось
Sometimes
там кажуть,
someone
щось
says,
робимо,
no,
не
they
знаю,
don't
там, допоможи
communicate.
зараз, не?
It's
То ні,
not
це не ми, це не
organizations that
організації
do not
були,
communicate.
це
It's a
конкретна
person
організація
from
А. Хтось
organization
там
A
дізналося з
had some
організації Б.
problem with
Якщо,
another
наприклад,
person from
я просто
organization
фантазую.
B. For example, Nastya
Настя
Popova
переходить
goes
в
to
організацію, не
organization,
знаю, там,
whatever.
не знаю, Б, я не хочу, да,
І
от,
And if Nastya, if
якщо Настя
you're
дивиться, Настя
watching
просто
it,
фантазує.
it
Коротше, я
doesn't mean
це не означає, що інсайт
that
свариться з сфери, але я
insight
автоматично буду
will
довіряти і цій
have
організації,
problem
бо я знаю,
with
що
the
Настя якусь там, не
sphere.
знаю, фігню, вона не впишеться. Ось. І
And
саме
that's like it
так
is
воно
in
все в
life.
житті, серйозно, все як в житті.
But
ну, але боротьбу за
no
ресурси,
one,
звичайно, ніхто не, типу, не
well, we do
Я
have
люблю
this
конверсації,
fighting
до речі,
for
хочу вам сказати.
resources.
Ну, типу, ми
And we
мало
don't
про це говоримо, але я
discuss
думаю,
it
що
a
дуже
lot,
варто
but
говорити
also
про
we need to
людські
discuss
якості.
human
Це нормально.
qualities.
Це
It's
не
not
завжди
always
навіть про
about
гроші,
money and
просто
access to
грошей.
money,
Це
but it's
за
about
статус,
status.
да? От хто, не знаю,
Who
наприклад,
will go to
зараз, хто
TV
піде на
and
телек і
will
буде казати, ну, типу,
explain
що
what the
говорить за перший ЛГБТК
LGBTIQ
рух, ну, типу,
plus
і відразу,
movement
ні, я піду.
is fighting
Тобто,
for.
а
And someone
хотілося
says,
вже
I will go, but
на
at
цьому
this
етапі
stage
свого
of
життя
life,
мені б хотілося, щоб
I would
люди
like
думали,
people
а
to
чому
think
слово
whether I
Я
will
заслужена,
be
це підійміть руку,
able
хто
to.
хоче піти на телек,
For
хто хоче навіть
example, you want
Кручинським поговорити в
to
прямому ефірі.
go to TV to talk to
Можна підключити.
someone,
Ти бачиш, Лена,
to
ти кажеш,
talk
я
to
щось
Karczynski,
почала
for
говорити щось
example,
інше, я не знаю.
or
Які, наприклад, Боже, як і з цією кудись там на
for
телек, і
example,
ведучий
Yana
я не
Brenzei
включу, хто
is the host, and you would you like to go to the TV program where Yana Brenzei is the host,
Вона хат там,
Ні, я
знаєш.
кажу, вам треба
and
буде
you
говорити,
will
за що
be
бореться
talking
кожен
about what
педагог.
LGBTIQ
Відчуваєте в собі
movement is fighting for. Do you feel strong enough for
Тобто
that?
ви
You want to speak
хочете
publicly?
говорити публічно.
Yesterday I had a webinar about that. That's cool. That's cool.
Ні, круто, круто,
Ти на
насправді.
карандаш, Олена, на карандаш.
Because
Да,
few
насправді круто,
people
тому що дуже мало людей, які
who
на
now
даний
in
навіть момент
2025, Anya, you
кажуть,
remember other years
коротше.
when no
Да,
one
коли
wanted,
взагалі ніхто не хотів,
because it
тому
was
що це
scary.
незручно і не мало камінг-ауті, і не були і так
But
далі.
first of all,
Але,
you
по-перше,
have
так, треба
to
бути в
make
камінг-ауті, по-друге,
coming
так,
out.
треба
You have to be
бути
convinced
впевненою в тому, що ви
that you
реально
will be able
зможете
to
донести ці
talk about
меседжі.
these
Знаєте, коли
messages
моя мама дивиться
when
телек,
my
я
mother's
пам'ятаю, я
looking
сиджу в
TV
якомусь
and
звуку,
I'm
і це, блядь,
sitting
іспанський
next
сором.
to
Я
and
думаю,
I'm
Господі,
listening
будь
to
ласка,
someone and it's like
переключіть.
this Spanish shame.
Раз. Тарас Жваня, психолог, Георгій.
I have a
У
question.
мене скоріше питання.
You could be ready
Можна бути
when you
готовим,
know
коли ти
this
знаєш
common point of view. Do we have it?
у нас,
The common,
яка була б спільна, ну, якщо
for example, common for LGBTIQ+, if we represent the whole community, so that it's not like at the previous session, it's too general and it's not close to anyone. I'm
Дивіться,
telling
зараз я
you,
вам просто кажу, ну, за всю спільноту,
most probably,
звичайно, скоріш за
you
все,
shouldn't
не
be
треба
using
використовувати такі фрази, я
such
зараз
things
говорю
as
за всю
I'm
спільноту,
representing
люди
the
чогось
point of
зовсім
view of the whole
комфортного для
community.
чогось. От це все
They
ви
just
прибираєте, у
ask
вас
you,
просто
what
питають,
do you
а
want?
що ви хочете?
What do you
А
want to
ви від
happen in
когось в
Ukraine?
Україні?
What
За що борються
LGBTIQ
Можу вам
plus
казати
community is
все-все.
fighting for? Don't talk
Але так, щоб люди
about
зрозуміли.
everyone. Talk
Не
about
про
yourself.
бенефіціарок,
But say
не
it
про
so
там, не
that
знаю,
people
всякі, не знаю,
understand.
програми, національні
Don't
план
talk
дій
about
і так далі. Давайте
beneficiaries,
це
about
просто смішно
national
звучить,
action
це
plan.
все. Але
Say it
скажіть
so
так,
that
щоб люди
people
зрозуміли,
understand,
про що
hear
ви
you,
і що
and do
зробити
something.
ще найкраще. Так, да.
When I saw this piece of news about lesbian conference, I was so happy because the experience, you mentioned Lima, but the experience that we had in the past when there was this feministic library interpreted, translated into Russian, I'm sorry, many resources were in Russian language, very few in Ukrainian, but what was happening in Poltava camps, what I mean, one organization, and there were not many of us, one organization, which was called the Women's Network, invites girls from different regions. We didn't have grants. It invites girls, lesbian girls, to study together. Now there are many more people like that. Then we would take 20, 25 persons who would stay in the tent with this, fire, bonfire, and with the traditional program, irrespective of what personalities were there, irrespective of our attitude to each other. But I was in contact with most of the leaders, and I'm still in contact with most of them. And then we were discussing why do we have these gender stereotypes in our community. And these were very simple discussions. They were not political, but at the same time they were political. And that's what the trust is based on. Not on that we look at each other and think, okay, this lady is okay, but it's because we were there all together, together with our children, and together with our pets. And that experience that the female or women's network was promoting, it was unique. But then it was a unique thing. And second thing, annually, we could afford everyone to take a tent, to pay for some food and to cook some food. Just someone has to do it. I am grateful that you organized this conference. Maybe there will be more spaces for developing the feeling that we are together. Thank you, Anna. Anya said, was talking about some ladies who are talking about feminism, gender. I can tell you how I got there. It was so that you are not concerned if you have such feelings as I had. I had a feeling that I'm in the club of girls who are talking about gender theory, queer, and I was 20 plus, and I am the student of the university. I don't understand what they're talking about. I was thinking what to do there, but it was so interesting, lesbian community, and I want to become part of lesbian community. They were talking about football for lesbians, badminton, rugby at the university. Don't worry if you think that you don't know something, just go and do what you feel should be done. Because putting together the community, it's not always about some academic things. And because of that, I got 2 university degrees, and now I'm working on PhD. So first it was about conference. It was about TV. I didn't raise my hand. I want to give some comment. It was about some events which are organized in contact with people so that they feel comfortable. And many people, I thought there will be fewer who will raise hands when we were talking about TV. Why I didn't raise hand? I know how to speak publicly. I'm responsible for what I say, but I'm not responsible for what you said. They will just give 10 seconds, and I'm not ready to be responsible for what these other people will put on air out of what I say. It's important to organize events when people talk to people. When I organize something, I say it's a little bit informal, but I don't think that that's a problem. Are you concerned just, is it because of yourself, or do you think that the LGBTIQ plus community will suffer because they cut your interview? When a person wants to say something important and says it incorrectly, that's perceived negatively by people who are not part of the community, and negative is not about some biased attitude, it's about knowledge, and the knowledge that they get is wrong. It's not like that in reality. And that is what is risky for the community. If one person who was neutral starts thinking negatively, it's not very good. Okay, let's close this gestalt. Okay, just think about that. In any case, any person out of us is not responsible for all the community, and this will never be like that, and we will never be representing the whole community. We're talking about our own experience of people who are part of community, and that's what the beauty of it is about. We're talking about ourselves, and this could be similar to somebody else's experience in the community. But if they cut something out of that, that's not your responsibility. You did what you could. You were trying to defend yourself and community. That's the fact. The smaller is the group, the more it's involved, and the wider group is, they say whatever. For example, a woman of VPO doesn't, the woman who is internally displaced person talks about her experience, but maybe there's another one who has different experience as internally displaced person. And we had this feeling that I should be just like all the society of Ukraine should perceive ideal lesbian. If, well, if you said something wrong, then don't say that you're a lesbian, or like it's with feministic movement. Now the situation is better, but in the past, the women in feministic movement look at you and they say, who's that, a boy or a girl? The lesbian will represent the feministic movement of Ukraine. Isn't there any normal one with a husband and children? That's what I heard. It's not that everything changed now, but it's like if you need, you just come in. Don't wait to be invited. And talking about conference, I think it's a great balance. Maybe you saw that at international conferences when there are some slots where you can get registered, and then the third hall into which you had to enter via vagina. I believe that was something top, because everyone had to feel what is to go in and go out via vagina. You can see the photographs. There's a page in Instagram, and they would take photographs there. And I would like to go back to a topic. Timur?
Тимур, да? Тимур?
Taras. That Taras mentioned.
Яку Тарас підняв. Мені щось воно муляє, от як Тарас запитав, і воно мені муляє. Да, що,
How to talk
як говорити
on
від цієї
behalf of
спільноти,
all the LGBTIQ plus
представник,
community
там,
if you are the representative of one of these letters, but you talk on behalf of
чого
all.
мене муляє? Тому що,
And there might be the impression that if a lesbian comes out, then she will mention something, and if the gay comes out, he will not mention some specific issue. There are some problems which are more the problems of gay community, but there are some others, some experiences which are characteristic for lesbian community. I agree with Elena. If we are talking quest for any extra rights, to recollect what we don't have, what don't we have? We cannot get married. Why people get married? Why do we need this ceremony? Don't just think about such ceremony, about marriage in church. Don't just fall into such provocations. Why people get married? As minimum, well, if we put aside romantic aspect, but some people decide that these people can do only this and that, as we who are privileged caste people, who are super people, superhumans, but they talk about human rights, but when it comes to something specific, they don't notice it. It's sort of, we are for equality, but then when it comes to LGBT, then we get some neutral ones and others. Just we need to have similar rights as other people. The possibility to get married, to have some guarantees from the state. You know, in Kyiv Zoo, for example, there is a family ticket. If you are married, then your ticket will cost cheaper. Maybe we also would like to go to the zoo. Mother, father, and myself are a happy family, and there's a family ticket. But theoretically, the risk to have a smaller income, that is the risk of LGBT people. We live in such a situation when men, compared to women, they have larger salaries, and lesbians would have something else. Or when it comes to mortgage, when you have to pay something, some real agreement. For example, there will be a case when the relatives are against something, and we want some simple human moments in life. We want to go back to our common flat, which you cannot have if you are not registered, and not to see these glances. I would like to go to a holiday and discuss it with someone, but not to pretend that this is not Masha, but Sasha or Pasha, or to be silent. Why are you promoting it? And the question is, why do you promote it? We want to live this life, simple, happy life, and be sure that we'll be protected if someone is beaten, and they will not say that everyone is beaten, and so that they don't notice this elephant in a china shop, and you were beaten with the people shouting, "Oh, she's a lesbian." There was a
До речі, так вот воно що.
Okay.
Да, 22-й рік у
In
Львові
Lviv,
впізнали, саме впізнали.
someone recognized Olena,
Там по камерам потім було
and
видно, що хлопці
the
спостерігали,
guys
дівчата
were
спостерігали, потім
observing,
і залили
and
машину
then
газом.
they put this tear gas. It was, you know, like
Ти повертаєшся, і вони тебе запшикують балон.
they called you hi, and then they put this tear gas into your eyes. When they say you're afraid of us, you run away. But where is this open
Я вже, чесно, я вже дуже хочу. Реально, це моя якась заповідна вже,
opposition?
нав'язлива думка. От,
Everyone
ті
says
прийшли, щось
those
зірвали, ті
came,
щось
did
зробили. Я
something,
хочу потрапити
others
на
came,
цей
did
захід, де
something.
щось прийдуть зривати.
Well,
Ну,
I want to
кажуть,
be at
от
the
у нас
event
також,
when
типу, у нас в
people
Франківську
come
приходили,
to
дійсно блокували,
do
от,
something bad, like
да.
in
От, ми
Ivano-Frankivsk, in Chernivtsi,
пропускаємо.
there were the cases.
Ну,
But I always miss such cases. But you remember in Odessa how you were holding 20 persons
ну, типу,
at the
він
door,
стоїть напроти мене.
near the door. He's standing next to me, and he's making such a gesture like that.
Я думаю, ну, і що ти далі
And
включаєш,
then
розумієте?
I think, and
без
what's
відносин, тобто,
next?
Я вже реально, ну, без шуток, я не проти отримати в обличчя. Бо я
The sound gets interrupted, sorry. But then they will say that you were fighting with right radicals.
А потім буде, знаєте, цитата з цієї сесії, і я хочу
The sound gets interrupted, sorry. I remember many years ago in one bookstore there was some presentation. We're in the front row and someone is sitting next to and he's doing like that. At some moment he takes something, I don't remember. I take him and I keep him and he is crying, help me, I'm beaten. And I thought, okay, you are the aggressor in this situation. He sort of didn't do anything, he was trying, whatever he had, and he's shouting this, he's being beaten. It's like this feeling of being afraid. We are afraid of the time, and that is sort of the only action they force us to make. I want to get rid of this feeling. I want to understand who I should be afraid of, to block the door. What else can you do? What else can you do? I'd like to understand what we are afraid of. Afraid of being beaten, do it. But do you understand what it is about? You cannot file the case on we are just afraid. What was it in Safari? In 2016, Lviv, whatever the city is in Lviv, they were writing in Telegram chats, we will organize Safari, and for Shevchenko's head, they would put some price, but they couldn't find. But the time goes by, and then yesterday you heard there are some achievements in advocacy. There's the sense to finally have some evidence so that there is something to investigate. In Kiev, we have the office. In Podil, we changed the video camera so that we can see well. And because previously we couldn't see well, now we have a very good picture. Because once they were brave enough to enter our office, and what they did, they scared everyone.
як казала Аліна Сарнацька, агресивно сиділи.
Again, the
Нас
sound
також
is
агресивно сиділи,
interrupted.
налякали.
They
Ну, тобто,
scared.
шуму було, просто розмов про це. І
And
мені дійсно ж дуже шкода,
I'm
що це був той
sorry
момент, але не є.
for
Це просто,
everyone.
да, а ми в
And
Одесі
we
були
were in
спілкувалися.
Odessa at
Дуже
that
тривалий
time.
день, да. От, які дійсно налякалися, але ми, знаєте, ми не
We
бачимо,
do not
чого ми
see
боїмося.
what
І
we
вони,
are afraid of.
видно, що вони не готові
They are not
пряме
ready
зіткнення, бо вони розуміють, що
for this
врешті-решт
collapse.
достатньо однієї прецедентної
It's
справи,
enough to have
яку ми
one
хочемо
case
чесно
as a precedent,
отримати.
Настя, ну ти ж не закликаєш людей
but
бити
you will not prohibit
Off the records, off the records.
people
Ні, це
to
просто історія
beat
життя. А що,
right
лесбійський патруль,
radicals.
знаєте ж? Або
These are just stories of
ЛГБТ-патруль.
life.
Було таке в нас якась думка, ну, лесбійська
Um,
конференція ООН, це мрія
We
першої
had
совмісної,
this
а інша
lesbian
це
conference.
оце,
Another idea was
бойові лесбійки. Да, щось здійснилося в поганому сенсі, тому що дуже багато зараз не здійснює бойових
we
лесбійок,
really
але,
have
на жаль,
many militant
зовсім в іншому
lesbians,
страшному
but
контексті.
they are in
От,
awful context.
і це, до речі, також та
And that's
тема,
another topic
для якої потрібен
which
простір, аби
space
про
is
неї
needed.
поговорити.
We need to discuss
Да,
it.
бачу.
Да, ну і відразу я вже відповідала.
And
тому
I
що
answered
коли
many
були після
times,
того, як ми організували лесбійську конференцію.
what were the
Гей-конференцію,
questions
що
after
не
we
дійшли
organized
до
lesbian
LGBT
conference?
питання.
They were
Коли
asking why
конференцію
not
робили трансконференцію,
gender, why not gay
Ага.
conference,
Це по-перше. Для
trans
геїв
conference?
організовані
We will
конференції
not organize for
трансконференції.
gays.
Геї самі якось справляться.
Gays will do it out
Дякую,
themselves.
дякую, Олена.
Thank you that you will not do anything for
Слухайте,
gays.
О, ти бачиш, а
Я
потім
хочу,
наріжуть, Олена. Мгм.
Так, я хочу
I'd
прервати
like to
пропаганду лесбійської насильства.
interrupt this promotion of lesbian violence against right radicals.
Тому що я це вже
I could feel it, how people
Готові йти?
are looking for right radicals in Facebook. But we know from our experience that Plekhanov doesn't work. This Plekhanov's idea of absolutely free community hasn't been implemented anywhere. And people are developing some political goals, political movements, those who have to do it for lesbian movement, lesbian in wide sense, LGBT, all those who emotionally or rationally want to be part of that
Племені.
of that tribe, as Gamma
Отже,
said.
і має, мені сподобалось.
Ні, ну слухайте,
Infiltrated lesbians, bisexuals, and transgender women should do it. Who are infiltrated, those who are in different authorities legally, who became part of authorities, they were elected, they got positions. Who? Once we are talking about local elections, it's easier. And the Municipal Council of Kiev, but as to political movement, political party, okay, I'm ready, let's organize the political party and go to elections in a few years, it will be possible, why not? Because, well, they steal money everywhere. And I believe that LGBT community will be the most honest in politics, will be controlling each other so that we don't steal, because we say that we will do that because of the idea. We don't need any money. I mean, other infiltrations, business structures, we see how that works. People become more open and they help movement, other people.
До речі, я бачила заяву на буде
I see
да, про яка от
What's the difference?
що є люди
There are people from LGBT
з ЛГБТ
community
які умовно не
who
допомагають.
do not help.
Відкрито заявляють,
They
що вони
say
дійсно
openly that they are
так.
representatives of
Але
LGBT
з якогось, не
community,
знаю, там, контексту або з
but
якоїсь
from
точки зору
certain
здаватися, що
point of
вони не
view,
адвокатують,
you could
да, за
think that
питання
they do
ЛГБТ.
not
Що
advocate
змінювалося
this
далі. І це, до
movement.
речі, дуже цікаво
And
потім
it's interesting to
от
think
де
about
оця
that.
межа, де я просто лесбійка,
There is one
потім я
thing
просто
when
активістка,
you are,
потім я вже
then
правозахисниця,
when
а
I'm
потім я
just
там
a
іду в
lesbian,
і так
then
далі.
I'm
Тобто,
just an
чи,
advocate, and then I
от,
go into
чи
politics.
має кожна лесбійка
Should every
активістку,
lesbian
кожна
become an
активістка має піти в
activist? Should
політику,
every
щось змінити?
activist
Наче
dream
от
about going
відчуваємо, да, це
into
навантаження,
politics?
наче
It's like
ти
a
маєш, ти мусиш.
burden on
І
you.
от де ця межа,
And where's
де
this
ти маєш себе
limit?
переломити,
Where do you have
і
to
між, ти не
really
можеш стояти осторонь. Якщо ти
decide
можеш,
that
ти ж,
you
ну,
cannot
не для когось,
be
ти
a
ж для
side
себе
of
в
it?
першу чергу маєш
You
це
are doing it not
просувати.
for someone else, but for
Я
yourself. You
пропоную
have to
чомусь це
promote it.
порефлексувати, бо для мене, наприклад,
Let's
також
think
завжди
about it.
була краєугольний камінь і те,
It
через
has
що я
always
прийшла
been
в
for
активізм
me
і долучилася до
something
громадських
important.
процесів. Тому
Why
що,
I came to
да,
activism, to this community.
тому що я жила
I
своє
lived my
життя,
life.
я понад 10 років
For more
працювала
than
в
10
бізнесі,
years,
в
I
рекламі,
worked in
в
marketing,
маркетингу,
in
в мене була своя
business. I
рекламна
had my
агенція,
own
але
marketing
відчуття, що
agency.
я...
А ми вже
Yeah, we
завершили.
are finishing. No sound. Sorry, there's no sound.
Продовжуй. Ну ти ж перекричиш, звісно, це.
Я
Ну.
пам'ятаю, як у нас
I
на іншій
remember,
конференції о 6
like at the
ложок всі
lesbian
бігає
conference, there
тривога,
was
і
something
тільки
similar.
харків'янки стоять на перекурі,
And
всі
there was
розмовляють.
an
Я кажу, дівчата, ви якщо
alarm.
хочете, можна, вони
Да,
такі...
то
Alarm
Харкова
went on.
така вообще,
In
Діма.
Kharkiv, they
Що?
said, what?
А, ні, це чекає
In
Запоріжжя.
Zaporizhia also, what?
Ми вже подивились.
Да, це було прям, ну так, прям
That
помітно, можна було побачити,
was,
де вони
well,
сидять,
you could
або
see where
стоять.
they sit or stand.
Да, я хотіла
I
додати, що
wanted to add,
от, будучи, да,
being in
бізнесвомом
this
сестрою, я
business
і відчуваючи себе, ну,
and
лесбійкою,
feeling
яка
myself
бачить,
a
що щось
lesbian
несправедливо,
that
я вже
sees
ходила на
that
прайди, але я
something
відчувала,
is
що я щось
wrong.
роблю, ну, в цьому житті
I
не так. Ну, типу, що я
felt that I do
багато
something
речей
not like I
вимушена,
should.
ну, тобто я вже їх не
I
помічаю,
don't
що я щось
notice
десь
some
не
things.
договорюю, десь я щось
I'm
приховую.
hiding
Ось,
something from
і
someone.
думаю, блін, а що, ну, це, от, знаєте, таке відчуття
That's the
несправедливості,
feeling
та що ж
of
таке, чого?
unfairness.
Я
I'm
адекватна, як,
adequate,
не знаю, там,
I'm
розумна
smart
жінка, але
woman,
я наче не до
but
жінки,
I'm
от в
sort
цих
of
моментах, в
under
цих моментах.
woman.
А тут я чомусь, ну, маючи таку, там, знаєш, не знаю, впевненість в собі,
But
там, я себе несу, але я розумію,
I
що от чомусь,
understand
не знаю чому, я
that
замовкаю і не кажу, що я
here
лесбійка. І я така,
I
Настя,
keep
ну давай скажи.
silence.
А я
I
відчуваю, що
don't say
страшно,
that
тому що
I'm
я не
lesbian,
знаю,
but
що
I
далі.
feel
Вдруг це
that
мені
I'm scared.
вдруг буде проблема
What
з тим
if
питанням,
there is
яке
a problem
обговорює
with
зараз.
what is
І мене це
discussed
так
now?
вибісило, я просто, ну, сама з собою вела ці діалоги,
And
думаю,
I
Настя, ну
was
ти ж не
discussing
так
it with
робила. І от
myself.
мене це
Nastya,
відчуття
don't do
несправедливості
that.
і
And
за
this
себе,
feeling
особисто
of
за себе. Ви знаєте, що тільки
injustice,
тоді людина по-справжньому
the person
да, якісь зміни, коли вона за себе в
wants
першу
some
чергу хоче, за
changes
свою
when
кохану
this
людину,
person is
за своїх
doing it
дітей.
for
Тобто
herself,
не
for
для
the
когось,
person
тому
she
що я
loves,
хочу йти в
for
політику,
children.
стояти за трибуни, а в
It's
першу
not
чергу
for
за себе.
someone
І
else,
тоді
but
воно,
it's
знаєте,
for
воно
yourself. And
серце
then it comes from your heart. And there's a question.
Дуже дякую, всім привіт.
I am Olena, I'm bisexual, and I have a reflection, which is almost humor. You were talking about TV, that we need to talk more on TV, and you were talking about right radicals, and I got an idea. It would be, sorry, it got interrupted.
Ну, слово під неймінг можна буде щось, да? Але взагалі...
Ну, це такий амаш на кохана ми вбиваємо дітей.
And the second 6 years of my life,
якраз таки про політику я віддала, тому що я працювала
I
в
was working in the Верховна Рада.
дуже високого
I was a
рангу,
civil
делегований
servant of high rank,
і в якийсь момент
and
я
at some
зрозуміла, що
moment
якраз
I
таки, маючи
realized
таку
that
позицію,
having such
я
a
хотіла би
force, such a
транслювати, що
power,
я
I
представниця
wanted
величезної
to
культурної спільноти.
demonstrate that I'm a
Але
representative
чим я
of this
зупинилася на
huge
роботі?
community.
Кілька
But at
моїх
work, some of
шефів
my bosses
почали мені закидати ідею, що
started
вони з
telling
жінкою не проти
that
працювати.
they're not against
І
experimenting
що
with a
мені було,
woman.
Цього вони з ким?
е, мені хотілося
I
запропонувати мого
wanted to
хорошого
suggest
друга,
my
який
good
теж любить
friend
експериментувати
who
на
likes to
інших.
experiment,
І мені було насправді
and
дуже неприємно від цього,
I didn't
а
feel
мої
nice
колеги,
because of
дівчатка,
that,
навіть
and some of
колеги,
my
одразу
colleagues
зробили ось так.
immediately did so.
Вона ж це, вона нас теж хоче, напевно. Тобто одразу автоматично, ніби я хочу трахнути всіх жінок.
It's like automatically I want to, fuck everyone in the Верховна Рада. That's ambitious
Насправді
goal.
жінок багато, але на керівних посадах
There are
менш, навіть
many
менше.
women like that, but not many who are bosses. And my question is,
Хочу і далі, я бачу
I see my life in politics. If there is a party, I'm a political scientist, I can help with that. But what to do if there is such misunderstanding and what to do with it?
Так, ще одне
One
питання
more
беремо.
question.
Нам тут підказують рекомендації.
Да, в мене питання буде,
This,
дивлячись на вас. Ну, по-перше,
first of all, I want to
конференція, я про неї
read this conference. I heard a lot about it in Ukraine and abroad. The microphone, the person keeps microphone too far.
У мене питання, спробую його дуже коротко. Як ви вбачаєте, чи може бути рецепт подальшого
Could there be
успіху,
some
коли
recipe of further
ЛГБТІК-організації
success?
в Україні, їх у нас більше 28,
There are more than 28 organizations in Ukraine
на
which
окремих
will focus
лідерах,
attention on
і
separate
впевнений, у вас
leaders.
більше ЛГБТ-ком'юніті
You
в
have
організації, ви знаєте там про них більше,
the
знаєте,
community in
деякі
your
організації
organization.
більше працюють з гей-
Some
лесбіян-ком'юніті.
organizations work
Тим, про що
mostly
вони
with the gay
фокусувалися на
community.
своїх, пробачте, скажу, літерах.
Let
Тоді
them
вже були там
pay
окремі
attention to
об'єднання,
their
де збираються
letters,
лідери
and
разом.
then we need to
Цікаво, Таня,
organize
дуже дякую.
something where
Да,
we
я
put all the
відкладу
letters
це
together.
це останнє, а ти може на... Да, в мене взагалі болюча тема про цей
Talking
алфавіт.
about this alphabet,
Я вам серйозно
about
кажу, я
this
вже...
ABC,
Я не можу це...
it's really very sensitive topic. Why?
Ви ж сказали про
You
міжнародну
mentioned
ком'юніті, я вже
international
Господи, в
communities.
цих дискусіях
I've been so long in these discussions, LGBTIQRR plus PP.
Я не проти, щоб всі займалися якоюсь
I'm
своєю
not
літерою. Я
against
просто
everyone
не впевнена, що
working
всі з
in
них вже
its
зможуть назвати.
in
Це
his or
по-перше.
her
Але
own
це дуже
letter.
резонує з сексуалізацією.
But what
Що?
about sexualization? Sexualization and stigma.
яких дуже часто я вже чую, почали називати це old school назви. Давайте всі будемо називати
Lesbians, someone says that's the old school name. That is still stigmatized group. It's about sexualization. These are dirty, they lick something. And the same thing when it comes to bisexual. It's also it's also old school. No one knows what is queer, what is fun. But it is important for me. I say I'm lesbian. That's my political position. I'm not against. Our organization, whatever it was called, trans organization, lesbian, female, something else, we know a lot about different people. We advocate about all LGBT, but we provide services and most resources to women, to lesbians, to bisexual women, to trans community, because historically they have fewer resources, and it's important for us because we are women ourselves.
хотіла
I'd
сказати, що
like
це
to
також
say that
може
this
стати
could become the
рекомендацією
recommendation and roadmap
лідерок,
when
лідерів,
it comes
тому що
to
дійсно
preparation
не
of leaders
вистачає
or training of
облич
leaders.
людей,
We do lack
які би
people who
могли
could
щиро від
uh,
серця говорити про всю
sincerely
спільноту,
talk
не
about
забуваючи
the
ні про
whole
сім'ї, ні про дітей,
community,
ні
not
про
forgetting
шлюби,
about
бо ми говоримо зараз про
families,
партнерства, але,
children,
наприклад, Ізраїль
marriages. We
дуже,
are talking
певна
about
багата кількість
partnership,
лесбійок в голові тримають
but
мрії про
inside,
шлюб,
and many
про
lesbians,
дітей,
they
це про
dream
всиновлення,
about
ось,
marriage, about children,
і так
about
далі.
adoption.
Це те, чого, на мій
And
погляд, не
that is
вистачає.
what we
Так, є
lack.
зараз, ну, за 10
In
років
10 years of
організація, власне,
institutionalization
ЛГБТ, ну, і
of
лесбійських заборон
lesbian
відбулася. Ось
movement,
ми бачимо
we
організації, які
see organizations which are headed by lesbian women,
мало спікерок,
but
дійсно,
we
лідерок,
don't have
спікерок.
enough
І, може,
leaders,
це дасть
speakers.
поштовх,
Maybe
да, щоб, може,
this
якісь
will give an
групи, не знаю,
impetus
там, вебінари, курси про
to
підготовку,
organize some webinars.
може, такого треба більше.
Maybe you should
Ось, бо ти не вічна,
give more
взагалі, ми
confidence
всі
to
не
our
вічні, да?
Та я
leaders.
і не претендую, так.